Welcome to the deep dive. You've handed us quite a stack of sources here, all tackling that ultimate mystery, what happens after, well, after the body fails.
Right. And today we're really trying to map out that journey of consciousness, pulling from, well, incredibly diverse places.
Yeah, I mean, we've got ancient esoteric knowledge, like the Akashic records.
Exactly. Blended with these really intense, very personal testimonies from near-death experiences, NDEs.
And then this fascinating philosophical shift from someone like Whitley Strieber connecting his visitor encounters to the afterlife itself.
That's the synthesis we're aiming for, taking these three distinct blueprints and seeing how they overlap, how they inform each other.
So our mission isn't just, talking about life after death. It's to give you, the listener, a kind of detailed itinerary. We want to explore what those first 60 seconds might actually feel like.
Yeah,
Why a soul would choose to come back here to Earth.
it's a big question.
And maybe the most startling idea
Yeah.
that these beings we often call aliens could actually be, well, intelligences from that same afterlife realm? Completed beings, maybe?
It's a profound possibility. The goal here really is to try and move past some of the cultural fear around death and see it as potentially a structured natural process, an expansion.
Okay, let's dive right in then, the sacred timetable.
Mm.
Starting with the Akashic records. For someone listening who maybe hasn't heard that term, what exactly are we talking about? Why do they offer this timeline?
Sure. Think of the Akashic records, maybe conversationally, as like the universe's energetic library, or maybe a vast spiritual database.
Okay.
It's said to hold the blueprint, the energetic imprint of every soul's journey, every thought, action, experience. It's vast.
Right. And according to these records, those first 60 seconds are really significant.
Hugely significant. And the key thing, the transition is described as never being abrupt.
That feels important. Not a trauma, but what was the phrase? A gentle separation.
Exactly, like mist rising from still water. That's the imagery used. And what's fascinating, too, is this immediate sense of recognition. Before the soul is even fully detached, they say there's this presence. Guides, maybe ancestors, familiar energies.
So you're not alone.
Never alone. They describe it as being enveloped in a field of calm love and recognition. It counters that fear of isolation.
And the soul itself changes. It expands, feels lighter.
Yes, because that density of the physical body just dissolves almost instantly.
What really struck me about this initial phase, though, is the sense of déjà vu they mention. That the soul often remembers, oh, I've done this before.
Right, because that illusion of linear time, Earth time, it starts to unravel almost immediately.
Okay, so that peaceful release happens, you're welcomed.
Yeah.
Then what? The reception phase.
Entering the soul realm, or sometimes called the between lives state.
Yeah.
Welcomed by your soul family. And then comes the part everyone kind of dreads, but maybe shouldn't. The life review.
Ah, yes, the life review. We hear about this constantly in NDE accounts. But the sources we looked at are really clear. This is not a judgment scene.
Absolutely not. No courtroom, no angry deity. It's portrayed as a much more intimate, more restorative.
How so?
It's described like standing before a mirror made of pure consciousness. You relive your life, yes, but here's the crucial part. You experience it from the perspective of everyone you interacted with.
Oh, wow. So you feel the impact of your actions, the good and the bad, as if you were on the receiving end.
Exactly that. You feel the warmth of every kindness you showed, and you also feel the sting of any pain you caused. But, and this is key, this whole integration happens within this field of unconditional love.
So it's about understanding, not punishment.
Precisely. The core question isn't were you good or bad, but more like, did you gather the experiences you intended? Did you learn what you came here to learn?
Okay, so after that intense integration, the soul rests, recalibrates.
Yes, adjusts from the density of Earth life. And then comes the planning phase for the next round, which really gets at why we reincarnate.
And the sources say the next life isn't just assigned to you like fate.
No, it's co-created. You, or rather your higher self, works in partnership to design the next experience.
This is where karma comes in, isn't it? But maybe not how we usually think of it.
Right. If you think karma is punishment, that implies some kind of cosmic judge. These sources frame it more as energetic balance, or unfinished frequencies the soul wants to harmonize.
It's like inner work spilling over into the next life. Give me an example.
Well, say a soul spent a lifetime silencing their own voice, feeling worthless. They might choose a life where finding and using their voice, perhaps for healing, becomes central. To find that balance, that self-worth.
Or maybe someone who experienced deep betrayal might choose a life focused on learning sacred commitment.
Exactly. It's about seeking completion, wholeness,
Yeah.
and often that involves others.
Ah, the soul family idea.
Yes, souls tend to return with those they have deep, energetic ties with, people they loved, people they hurt, people who hurt them. You switch roles across lifetimes to help each other evolve.
That's a huge concept. So if we're co-creating the lessons, the relationships, do we also plan the exit strategy? Do we choose how and when we die?
The Akashic sources are pretty consistent here. They suggest the soul often chooses the general timing or the nature or maybe the energetic theme of its death before incarnating.
Like,
Well, sometimes a soul might choose a very sudden, quick death to perhaps teach those left behind about life's fragility, its preciousness.
okay.
Other times, maybe a long illness is chosen, creating a space, sometimes a difficult space, for forgiveness or reconnection within a family.
That sounds incredibly complex to plan out.
It does from our perspective, but remember the big caveat. Free will operates strongly on Earth. So while the theme might be chosen, the exact moment can definitely shift based on life choices.
But deep down, the soul knows.
The deepest knowing is always there. Death isn't an end, it's a return, often a planned one.
Okay, let's make this more concrete. Let's move from the records to a specific, really powerful experience. That 1994 near-death experience of a Santa Barbara firefighter. This really illustrates that transition.
It's a remarkable account. He was incredibly sick with the flu, severely dehydrated. In the hospital, they gave him IV medication for pain and nausea, and he basically just...
Sold over, as he put it.
Yeah. Medically, he was in deep trouble. His wife watched them use Narcan, the opioid reversal drug, 3 times. Nothing. He was clinically gone, flatlined.
But what he experienced on the other side, it sounds overwhelming, but in a good way.
Totally. He described flying through this realm filled with stars, feeling this incredible rush acceptance, love, joy. He called it everything a human ever wants to feel.
And he used that phrase, cosmic orgasm,
He did, that intense peak state of bliss and unity.
on his perspective on his body.
Complete detachment. He looked back at it lying there and just saw it as a banana peel. Unwanted, discarded. That heavy, struggling physical form was instantly irrelevant.
Okay, now this is where his story gets really interesting and starts connecting to, well, Whitley Strieber, maybe. He lands in what he described as a facility, a clinic.
Yeah, almost like a processing center or clinic. And there were 3 short, hooded beings there.
Not exactly angels.
No. And he specifically said they resembled the warthog men from the book and movie Communion, which are usually associated with fear, with abduction narratives.
But his experience was different.
Completely. He said they were sweethearts. Giggling, totally benign, just kind of curious about what he learned.
Then the main figure appears.
Right. This tall, wispy guy, as he called him, felt like he was in charge, but like a loving father figure. The love pouring off this being was apparently overwhelming, almost paralyzing, pure, ecstatic affection.
But the visit was cut short.
Yeah, the being essentially told him, nope, you've got important things left to do. He had to go back.
And when he woke up, furious about being sent back, the nurse said something incredible.
That's one of my favorite details. She apparently looked at him and said, honey, you've been in escrow, but you fell out of escrow.
Huh. The deal didn't close. He couldn't keep the house yet.
Exactly. Perfect analogy. But there's one more piece from his journey. Before returning, he briefly passed through a place he described as lonely, kind of dismal, a dark place.
This often gets interpreted as hell, right?
It does. But based on his understanding and what aligns with the other sources, it wasn't punishment. It was seen as a temporary state.
For souls who are stuck.
Exactly. Stuck in maybe astonishment or deep fear or unresolved guilt they created in life. It reflects their own low vibration. It's temporary, lasting only until the soul sorts itself out and finds the path towards the light again.
So that connects directly back to what the Akashic records say about heaven and hell.
Right. They're not fixed locations like on a map. They're states of consciousness, energetic realities.
Determined by the soul's own resonance, its vibration.
Heaven is returning to coherence, to unity and love. Hell is just being temporarily caught in those loops of fear or self-judgment until that consciousness awakens and shifts its frequency.
And incredibly, there seem to be modern attempts to map these states too, like the Monroe Institute.
Yes, the work pioneered by Robert Monroe. For listeners, the Monroe Institute uses specific audio frequencies, hemisync, to help people access altered states of consciousness deliberately.
And they've mapped out different levels.
They have. They talk about focus levels. For example, focus 15 is described as the state of no time.
No time.
Yeah, where linear memory dissolves and people report being able to access their soul record. Sounds a lot like the life review state, or accessing the Akashic field, doesn't it?
It really does. And what about focus 27?
That's what they often call the park. It's described by explorers as a kind of afterlife way station, a beautiful, structured place where souls might go right after death for rest, healing, integration, before moving on or planning the next step.
Wow. So you have an ancient esoteric system, a firefighter spontaneous NDE, and a modern consciousness research institute, all pointing to a similar multi-layered spiritual reality.
The consistency is pretty striking, isn't it?
It really is. So if this afterlife architecture is so consistent, so structured, often so loving, where do the visitors fit in? The UFOs, the aliens? This brings us to Whitley Strieber.
Right. Strieber's story is fascinating because his perspective shifted dramatically after his wife Anne passed away in 2015.
He was already famous for his visitor encounters described in Communion.
Yes, but after Anne died, he began experiencing what he felt was clear, ongoing communication with her telepathic messages, vivid dreams, undeniable synchronicities. This deeply solidified his belief in consciousness survival.
And this communication led him to rethink the visitors.
Profoundly. He came to believe that the beings he'd encountered, those slender, large-eyed humanoids, weren't necessarily extraterrestrials from other planets in the way we usually think.
But instead?
Intelligence is operating from the afterlife realm. Anne's core message to him, the synthesis, was, the dead are not gone. They are completed.
Completed.
Meaning they've finished their journey in the limitations of physical form and now exist in a more whole, integrated, higher state of awareness.
And the revolutionary connection Anne made was?
They and we are the same journey seen from different sides. That's the key aphorism.
Okay, unpack that.
Strieber started to theorize that maybe the terror some people feel in an abduction experience and the overwhelming bliss people feel in an NDE, maybe they're two sides of the same coin?
The same interaction.
The same fundamental interaction with higher dimensional intelligence, but perceived differently based on our state of consciousness at that moment, whether we meet it with fear or with grace.
So it completely reframes the alien phenomenon.
It does. The visitors become perhaps messengers from that realm of completed consciousness, not just travelers from distant stars, and also told him things like, consciousness does not end, it expands. And crucially, the body dies into the soul, not the other way around.
That last one is powerful. The body dies into the soul.
It flips the whole perspective.
You know, this sounds incredibly spiritual, obviously, but parts of it almost touch on scientific ideas. Where's the overlap?
Well, Strieber's model and the general idea of consciousness surviving death aligns conceptually with what are called non-local consciousness theories.
And meaning consciousness isn't just in the brain.
Exactly. These theories propose the brain might act more like a receiver or a filter or an antenna for consciousness rather than its sole generator. So when the receiver breaks,
The signal, the consciousness could still exist elsewhere.
that's the idea.
How do theoretical physicists even approach something like this? Can information survive physical destruction?
This is where it gets very theoretical, but concepts from quantum information theory offer a potential framework. If you imagine consciousness, the soul, as an incredibly complex pattern of information, some theories suggest that fundamental information, structured patterns, can't actually be destroyed, only transformed or transferred. So that pattern, the soul, could theoretically persist even when the biological hardware, the body, shuts down.
Now, we have to be clear here. This isn't mainstream science, right?
Absolutely not. We need to state that clearly. Mainstream neuroscience overwhelmingly holds that consciousness is an emergent property of complex brain activity and ceases when the brain dies.
But there are these other models out there.
Yes, speculative models. You have things like the Orcha-Or theory, proposed by Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, suggesting consciousness arises from quantum processes inside microtubules within brain neurons.
So if consciousness has a quantum basis,
Then theoretically, since quantum information isn't localized or easily destroyed, it could persist beyond the brain.
it's a way to conceptualize survival.
Exactly. It allows us to see death not necessarily as annihilation, but maybe as a profound change of configuration, a transfer of that conscious pattern. It's speculative, yes, but it bridges the gap between the spiritual accounts and scientific possibility.
Looking across all these sources, the ancient records, the modern NDEs, Strieber synthesis, The picture of what happens after death seems remarkably consistent. Expansion, structure, love, reunion.
It really is. It's presented almost universally as a return, an expansion, and yeah, as that firefighter put it, maybe a 10 million% upgrade.
Uh-huh.
The real challenge, the revolution maybe, is internalizing this understanding while we're still here, in the body.
And bringing it right back to the practicalities, back to our time in physical form. The sources even suggest that how we handle the body after death can matter for that transition.
They do. There's a thread suggesting that burial, if done with a lot of fear, grief, or control, can sometimes act like an energetic tether, holding the soul closer to the earth plane for a bit longer.
Whereas cremation,
Is often seen in these frameworks as more freeing. The fire acts as a rapid catalyst, dissolving those energetic cords between the soul and the just vacated physical form much more quickly.
interesting. So as a final thought, maybe we can leave our listeners with a kind of sacred intention for transition, something drawn from these ideas.
Yes, a sort of final, loving release. You could use it for yourself when contemplating your own journey, or for a loved one who has passed. It's about cleansing those final attachments.
Okay?
Beloved soul, your journey through form is now complete.
May this fire cleanse all cords, all attachments, and all earthly sorrows.
May your spirit rise like smoke toward the light of your true home.
You are free, you are loved, you are eternal.
As the body returns to ash, may your soul return to the stars.